Another episode of The Good, Bad, and Ugly. This was kind of a shorter, smaller week for films. I think the only one I missed out on was, I think it's called If Only You Could Imagine, or If Only You Could Imagine 2. I never watched the first one, and I never had time to watch the first one, so I didn't want to watch the second one without seeing the first one. I just thought that was stupid, right? So instead, we just have, I think, four movies. I think I've only seen four movies this week. There wasn't any streaming exclusives like last week. There just wasn't a lot of releases, period. There was a lot of re releases in theaters. Obviously, the Oscars are right around the corner. So we just have a bunch of movies that I've already seen probably countless of times. But it's okay. I thought this was a really, really good week. Nothing too exciting compared to last week. Like we had Nirvana, the band, the movie, no, the show, the movie, and I'm trying to remember what else came out last week. The Goat came out last week. It was just a really good week last week. But How to Make a Killing I thought was really really fun and probably my favorite movie of the week. Glenn Powell was brilliant in this movie. After I believe his last movie I saw him in was The Running Man. Uh, I really wasn't too sure. I thought he was fine in The Running Man, and that movie was just a huge disappointment for me. You have zoning out. You had Glenn Powell, of course, and Edgar Wright. Oh my God, an Edgar Wright directing, and that movie just didn't feel like an Edgar Wright movie. Even though I did still enjoy Running Man, it was just okay. But How to Make a Killing, I thought was very fun. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I think Glenn Powell was fantastic in this movie, which I'm really happy to say. The whole story was really fun to follow. Very short comedic movie, but it really does its work. I wish there was a bit more to it. I feel like we skip a lot of the kills, and the stuff that does happen in the movie is still really fun. I think the kills we do get are pretty okay. Margaret Qualley, just okay in this movie. I'm kind of sick of her just being okay in movies. I really enjoyed her in The Substance, and I thought she was pretty okay in Blue Moon. But other than that, in the past like couple years, she really hasn't been too phenomenal to me, which is kind of a shame because I know she's a really good actress. She just hasn't been doing what I think she's capable of, and she kind of keeps playing the same roles over and over and over again. And I know it's funny, me saying that because Glenn Powell's kind of doing the same exact thing, but at least it feels like he's improving upon himself every time he's in a new role. Margaret Qualley has kind of just plateaued into who she is. But it's nice seeing Glenn Powell be the modern day Tom Cruise. I think someone had to be that, and he's a handsome man. He's willing to take these type of roles, and I'm just really happy for him. I think he was really good in this movie. How to Make a Killing was just really, really fun, and I'm really happy to say that. And my next, I want to say, which one would I put in second place? Probably Midwinter Break. I really did enjoy Midwinter Break. I watched it today, actually, and I really did enjoy it. I thought it was really cute. I love romance movies, and people say it all the time. January, February, you always get these old people romance movies, but I'm always here for them. I think this movie was great. I really love that the couple doesn't feel like main characters in their in their universe. They just feel like a couple that's living. Jesus Christ, they just feel like a couple that's living in the world, and there's nothing really too special about them. They're not, really famous, really rich. They're not going out and doing extravagant things and pulling in crowds and all this crap. It was just a really cute romance movie, and of course, towards the end of it, it's a bit sadder and more bleak, and of course the thoughts of death in this movie and them potentially they were getting a divorce or they were planning on it. I'm really happy how the movie just all tied in together towards the end, where they realized like all of our differences, we still have to love each other. And I thought Midwinter Break was just really cute, a really nice romance movie. I wish we got this during Valentine's Day week, but it was just good. It's just nice to have this at some point in February. And for third place, I guess for this week, third place, there's not really many movies. There's only one after this one. This is not a test. I was pleasantly surprised about this. If you don't know, I don't like zombie movies, which is why my rating for 28 Years Later and 28 Days and 28 Years Later Part 1, Them being sort of pretty high was always just a shock to me. But this is not a test. I think also is a good thing to the zombie genre. I only gave it a 6 out of 10, but that's still good for me. That is still a good rating. And I don't know, it's just nice. It's such a closed off story. You have 5 teenagers, and you get to see how they survive a zombie apocalypse. There's nothing too bizarre in this movie. The zombies are barely shown. You're more focused on the character dynamics, which I think were brilliant. Uh, I really like that we don't go too overtly into how zombies became zombies and all this nonsense. And to my no, it doesn't really have a solution, which is also a nice thing for this movie. I don't want a sequel or anything of the sorts. I just hope this it's based off a book, so I'm assuming this is it. And I really just like how it ends off, and that's just it. It's just a story that ends off, and they're in this universe with the zombies and shit. Uh, we don't have any feel good moments like the sister not being a zombie. No, she's a zombie and they have to kill her. I really appreciated that. We don't have the dad coming back. I think there's a lot of weird character stories we were getting throughout this movie that just weren't fully developed. And that's kind of what the kind of problem you're going to run into with a shorter budget movie that's only an hour 40 minutes long. You're trying to flesh out so many characters and you just don't have the time to develop it. You have the stuff with the drunk abusive dad. You have the mom dying. You have the sex scene between the two students, not even mentioned once, which could have been used for some drama. But I'm kind of happy they didn't do that. It just happened, and that was it. I love that this movie just feels like a good teen angst zombie movie. I think they did a brilliant job with this. And if it is based off, if this is really close to the book, which I did see the writer of the book wrote a review on Letterboxd, then I'm actually really interested in reading the book. I think this was very enjoyable, and maybe in a book where more stuff is fleshed out, and of course there's more pages to it rather than 140 minutes or whatever, or not 140 minutes, 90 to 100 minutes of a movie. I'm really interested to see what these characters go through in the book instead. I think this was good, and if the author did enjoy the adaptation, then shit, I'll take it. I think this was a really good adaptation of the book then. And if you've seen my review, which I'll put right here, I hope, my only ugly for the week is Psycho Killer. There's no bad for this week. There wasn't a bad movie. The three movies aside, Psycho Killer were actually pretty enjoyable and good to me. Psycho Killer sucked. That's all I gotta say. Go watch my review on Psycho Killer. If you disagree or agree with any of my takes for this week, tell me in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts on them. Psycho Killer was genuinely, and probably might end up at the end of this year, being the most, I don't even know, most disappointing movie of the year by like a long shot. I still gave it a 3 out of 10 if you haven't seen our review. I think it just lacks in everything. It's such a shame. I think there was some clear potential here, but they just decided to go the wrong path every single time, which is so sad to say because I was super excited for this one. This was supposed to be in my top 10 most anticipated, but here we are. Now it's in the ugly section of one of my videos.